Hey guys, Marcus BB with Spirit Guides. Tonight, Josh, Paul, and myself are going to explain to you about all the equipment we use, how to use it, and what do we expect to get from it. So join us on this episode of Spirit Guides. So whenever we go on location and we start the interview process, the first thing that you want to have is a pen and a paper, because what it does is it gives you the ability to mark locations that they point out that maybe so-and-so has seen something here, or maybe somebody they know felt something here, and you want to mark those locations. We also carry some masking tape with us to mark the floor, because that's a spot where we may or may not want to put a camera later on in the night or during the investigation. We may want to spend some time there. Another thing that we do, because we do shoot film for a show, we have a film release, and that is a very important part for them to sign, because it just releases us from any liability that we may have. One of the first things that I also want to talk about is a digital recorder. These devices have been used since the beginning of paranormal investigations. Did you have a baby? We use these on every investigation to catch EVPs, and these are one of the most handy devices that we have. And how old are you?
How are y'all today? My name is Paul, part of Spirit Guides. We're here to talk about communication and our cameras. Hold on one second. Hey Marcus, can you hear me?
Yeah, what you got?
Hey, come on into the conference room.
All right, I'm heading that way.
As you can see, we use walkie-talkies to communicate on the site. That way, if we're across the building or something like that and something happens or we need an extra pair of eyes, we can communicate with each other. Come on in, Marcus.
Hey, what are we talking about tonight?
What I'm not going to drop off the table behind me. Well, first, talk about our walkie-talkies and how important it is for us to communicate.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So, you know, like I told them a while ago, we're across the building or wherever we're hunting. If we needed to talk to somebody, have them come over to get a fresh pair of eyes on something, or to hear something that we picked up on the recording devices you just talked about. So that covers that.
Since y'all walked in there, I have not seen anything flying around.
Hey, does anybody have their cell phone?
Next we have is our handheld cameras. Each one of the team has their own camera. It's a standard HD camera, but it has an infrared light and it has night vision, so you can turn it on at night and you'll be able to see in the dark places, because when we hunt, we always have all the lights off.
Now, do we have extra lights for that? I mean, how far does that light really see?
This light right here, I think, is 20 feet, but we do have other lights. Let me get one in the picture. If we're hunting a big area, this is a big infrared light, so we could really light up a long area.
That's our big 200 foot.
This is the 200 footer.
Yeah.
So if we're in a big warehouse, or if we're trying to shoot something outside, we can put this on, so that way our cameras could actually see up to 200 feet.
And we also have the 80 foot light that we use normally, like you said, down the hallway, but it works for our static cameras, right? So if we set up a static camera in a spot to shoot continuously, then this would be the light that would mount with it, because those lights obviously are battery powered. These are not, so these can run all night long.
Right, and we do have a system like you would find at a convenience store or at any store, security camera system. We put out multiple static cameras in certain locations, depending on the interview process of where they said stuff has happened. So we can capture that whether we're in the room or not. We can pick up all kinds of things on those cameras.
That's right.
Like I said, like he said, this one, it's only about 20 feet. This is what we carry into a room. Most rooms are not bigger than 20 feet. So it gives the individual person an eyesight into the darkness. Because when we have it on, we can see through here just like it's daylight. You can see just about anything in the room. And those are set up to our surveillance system.
But as we all know, when the room is dark and all you can see is through that little 2.5 inch, 3 inch lens, it does get tricky. Yeah, we do.
Admit it, we trip a lot.
We do have, we do fall.
Not fall, we just trip a lot. But other than that, that pretty much covers our camera system. We don't have the surveillance system set up where we can view that today. But just know, typical location, we'll have 3, 4, I think how many we can have up to?
On our static camera setup, we can have up to 8 cameras.
Up to 8.
Set up at one time. And we use a monitor, much like the one right behind us, as a base
of operations
to watch, and so we can have somebody stationed there watching all of those cameras at one time while the others are out investigating and asking and doing and catching EVPs and whatnot. Yeah?
Yep.
Hey guys, Josh Floyd here, and I am one of the spirit guys. I'm 36 years old. I like long walks along the lake. I have a lot of fun with these guys. By day, I'm a realtor. By night, spirit guide. And wanted to talk to you about the Periscope. That's one of the tools that we use, and that's this one right here. It's called a Periscope because you can scope out a pair of ghosts if you needed to. And so you turn it on right here with this button, and as an entity were to come into the vicinity of these little prongs here, or fingers as they're called, they will light up with different lights, and you'll know where the spirit is in your vicinity. Sometimes, you know, it won't go off all night, and we'll leave it somewhere, and we'll start to see some lights flicker and then kind of go around, so you really can see where the entity is at all times. Really cool. Plus, you know, at some point we kind of just hold it and walk around, try to find something like that. And this is actually one of my favorite tools, so that's kind of what I wanted to go over.
So do you think that they named it Periscope like off of a submarine that has 360-degree vision?
That's probably it. Yep. Definitely. Yeah, I made that Periscope up. Yeah, I just needed something to say for like 2 seconds, but yeah. So it's probably called a Periscope because, like a submarine's periscope, you're able to see 360 degrees, which is actually, this is called a 360 periscope. So
that's right.
Really cool piece of equipment. We also have flashlights. If you're unfamiliar with flashlights, when it's dark in a room and you do have a flashlight, you're able to see much better. And we always encourage vision. This one is actually a black light. And if you'll notice, whenever you go up to something that responds to black light, it'll actually shine. And so that's actually a lot of fun.
And as you can see, if I shine it at the camera, it's not going to come out as a bright light, right? It's going to be
sort of a soft
dark purple, yeah. And we use that because if you spend a lot of time in the dark, right, you get night vision, and it adapts. And so that whenever you turn it on, it doesn't break your night vision, because as we had talked about a while ago with the cameras, you only have this little 2.5 inch screen to see the whole world with. And so we do trip and bump into things quite a bit. And so this light helps us without dulling our night vision that we've spent some time adapting to over the course of the investigation.
Your iris is kind of closed like the shutter of a camera.
That's right.
And so, yeah, this doesn't mess with that. Right. And also we have what's called an EMF detector, and that stands for electromagnetic frequency detector. And whenever an entity is close by, what will happen is its electromagnetic frequencies will be all around it, and when it comes into contact with this antenna, it'll actually turn this light from off to on.
Yep. And we also have another kind, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Boom!
That's a handheld, right?
Yes. So basically, it's the same thing. We'll put this in a hallway, not where anybody is going to be touching it. Nowhere. No one's going to come into contact with it. So we know, and we'll have a camera on it.
Right. These
So
are our
we know
stationaries.
that when this thing lights up, something was in the vicinity. This is actually the same thing. Also EMF detector. However, this is a handheld one. So we'll go around as we're detecting spirits or attempting to. We'll have this, and this is also it's a light, but it's also a sound.
That's right. It does make an audio. Let's hear it.
And that.
Let's try this one.
Okay.
So, put it back in your pocket. We'll do that whole little piece again.
What did he say earlier? That was so.
You said me.
It wasn't me. That was the thing. And it sounds like me, but it's not. So.
You want me to stop and then restart?
Oh, we're still filming?
No, you can let it roll.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, let it roll.
That's awesome. All right. So that's the EMF detector, and then we also have one that is portable. So this one will leave in kind of a hallway area, let things pass by it. When they touch when they're in the vicinity of this antenna, their EMFs will turn this light from off to on.
Yeah, these are stationary, and these stay like in front of our static cameras, right?
That's right.
So
We'll
it's
keep
just
the
a
camera on.
visual.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know by watching the camera and that light if something has passed by. So also we have the same thing, but in a more mobile device. So while this one is stationary, this one we'll carry with us, like in my back pocket, like I just had it. We'll turn it on, makes a little noise. Okay, let's try it again. One more time. Sounds like a dolphin. We call it Flipper.
He goes me, me. Oh shit!
That was okay. In addition to the stationary EMF detector, we also have a more portable one. This right here, we hold in our hands as we look around for spirits and things like that. And this one's just a lot more mobile. This one is stationary, we keep a camera on it. This one we keep with us. And when we turn it on, it makes a little noise. Just like that. And as we get close to perhaps a spirit, something that's emitting those EMF, those EM frequencies, then we'll look out for this sound. I'll be honest with you, while we're looking around, and as soon as this thing goes off, it scares the crap out of me because I know that there's something close by, and it's always a little off-putting, but really cool to have.
And they also, if you're not careful, you will pick up, say, an electrical outlet or wires through the wall, and electricians actually use that to find wires.
Can you take it away from the wall, please? There's an electrical wire behind that wall. Guaranteed.
So whenever you are out on a hunt and you do use your EMF detector, the handheld one especially, if it's not stationary, you want to really try to debunk that and make sure that you're not picking up, say, an electrical outlet or somebody left their phone plugged in.
Hi everybody, it's Paul again. Just to let y'all know a little background on me. From Southwest Louisiana, met him, we worked together. I used to be his boss, now he's mine, but hey, that's how things work. Anyway, he's been interested in this, talked to me, and I said, let's give it a shot. So I'm trying to see if something's out there or not. Now we're going to talk about millimeters. This is a millimeter. At the top, a lot of stuff we talk about tonight is going to talk about electromagnetic frequencies and stuff like that. This is another way to pick it up. It's a handheld device. It's a little more sensitive than the other ones that they just showed you a while ago, but this one also shows temperature.
Why is temperature important?
Temperature is very important because most of the people that talk to us about having something happen associate it with either a raise in temperature or a drop in temperature. So this will allow us to see if there's any fluctuation in temperature in the room we're in and stuff like that, which means we can focus more into that room.
Now I see a lot of people use a digital thermometer that is actually shoots a laser and it measures from a distance. Our problem with that idea, and it's not wrong by any means, but the digital gun measures what we call a surface temperature, and if you'll notice the millimeter here, it measures temperature right here at the tip of that
It's
wire.
measuring the atmosphere temperature and not a surface temperature.
Right. And
Which the surface temperature could be changed by if a light shined on that area or if there's something in the wall that might be causing the temperature. So you don't want a surface
Yeah.
temperature. You're wanting the air temperature is what we like to do.
Yeah.
Another way that we catch temperature, which would be a surface temperature, is a thermal camera. We have a thermal camera here. Let me turn it on. Not only can you point it at something and get the temperature or see the temperature around it based on the colors, this is also has a video, so I can actually record that thermal.
Now, can't you see like an outline of a temperature?
Oh yeah, and I'm going to show them right now. Let me bring this up to the camera.
Let me get my Superman stance.
His Superman stance, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see the temperature in the middle of that, but it'll show what temperature I'm pointing at. If you look over here, the blues are cooler temperature, the reds and the oranges and the yellows are high temperature. So it just shows that we do have multiple things that we use to check, you know, like I said a while ago. This one will catch atmosphere temperature, this we can do surface temperature and video.
Now, why is video important?
Because it's something that you can go back and look at over and over again. It's not something that disappears. This, I can see that it adjusted the temperature, but there's no way to record it unless I have my camera on it, and the night vision on the cameras, a lot of times you can't see this. We
Now,
try to get it.
Aren't there also times where we can sit with the millimeter or the thermal camera and ask an entity if we've had a lot of experience that night and say, can you bring the temperature down
Yes.
to 69 degrees? And that way we can prove that the temperature did change, yes, but to a specific point, not just that it changed.
Yeah, not just that it changed, that the actual an entity is actually the one changing the temperature. Sometimes we've had this where it'll go up or it'll go down and then it'll go back to normal temperature and you're like, hey, did you do that? Can you do it again? And we want to see if that temperature fluctuates again.
That's
And
right.
We've picked that up a couple of times.
That is right.
So that's about the millimeter and the thermal camera. So what are we going to talk about next?
I think what we'll talk about next is different ways that we can entice an entity to interact with us.
Sounds good. See y'all then.
All right, guys, so we've been talking a lot about electromagnetic frequencies, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. What it is, as we described, is an electromagnetic field. It's energy is all it is, it's energy. And so electricity puts out energy, we put out energy, everything puts out energy in some form or fashion. And so the belief is that entities, as they're doing and moving and trying to talk, they have to use a lot of energy. And so we talked earlier about cold spots and seeing it with the thermal camera. If they take the heat from the room, right, because they're trying to gather up energy to move something or to make a voice or make a noise, they take the heat out of the room, which in turn creates electromagnetic field around them. And that is what we are trying to sense or detect or find, is that energy. That energy is what we believe to be an entity's presence. And we have other ways to do that. So this right here is what we call the noise maker. That's all it does is make noise. Some devices you're okay with whenever you use them, and you will have zero problems. Some devices not so much. This is one of those devices you have to be really careful where and how you use it. So if I were to pass my hand by it, it's going to make a noise and it's going to be really loud. And what I want you to know is that it picked up my energy. That's what it felt. Here's the problem. If you're in a location where you have to use the walkie-talkies because you're across a building or you're in multiple rooms and you're not just in a small house, these pick up the radio frequency going through the air. That's how sensitive these are. So you have to be careful what you use and where you use it. So another way that we can see visually evidence of an entity or something of the like is this laser. This laser shoots a grid, and the idea is that if something were to pass in front of it that were making a shadow, it would break the laser beam and it would see the outline on the wall. So we use this and we'll mount it on the side of a static camera, and it'll shoot like this, or if you wanted to see it on the wall, this is what it looks like. And it wouldn't be moving, obviously. I can't hold it still perfectly like a tripod. But if something were to pass in front of it, do you see how it creates the shadow? That's what you would see in the static camera. That is a really cool device that we use, and it helps us a lot to be able to prove that there was or was not something walking in front of the camera. Sometimes whenever you watch a camera back or feedback, that you think you see something that's not there, and it's just not there. So the last piece that I want to talk about right here is also an EMF detection, but it's a trigger object. There are ways that we can trigger a reaction or have an entity see something that's familiar to them. Maybe we would bring a lock that was really old to a jail, you know, and it was from that time frame. In this particular case, we're going to talk about this teddy bear. And this is for places that we believe to have a child entity or the spirit of a young child in the location. And the bear is just a toy, that's all it is, but it has inside of it the EMF detector, and what happens is it lights up in its belly. You'll see there's a red light that goes off. And it's just another way for us to tell. And so if we go to a place or a location where we feel like there are children, or there could be young people or young entities there, we would bring something like this to try and elicit a response or elicit some kind of playtime for them to let us know that they're there. And that's just one of the ways that we can find entities around us.
So we don't actually have a professional team that follows us around and films everything for us. Now that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
That would be really cool, but we actually have to film everything ourselves. So one of the things that we want whenever we're filming is a nice wide shot of the outside of where we're at. A lot of times we want it from a higher angle than a pole or a boom would be able to reach. And so what we've used is called the Holy Stone. And this is, the model number is actually the HS140. It operates on 3.7 volts. It also has this really awesome camera up front, so nice and clean video footage that we can get. And you can control it from this guy right here. So this is the controller. You actually can put your phone in here so you can see whatever the Holy Stone drone shows or is looking at. And so we use that for those kinds of shots.
We can get some really good also distance footage with that, and like a rising footage up maybe the side of a building or something like that. It's really, really a handy tool to have.
Yeah, it's awesome, and provides us with some really cool footage.
Yeah.
So beyond that, just as basic tips and things, we also recommend, if you wanted to kind of get into this, something you might not think about, you always want to have the zip ties on hand, because there's a lot of cords, there's a lot of things that can start to get everywhere, and I think he probably mentioned earlier that you'll start to trip over things and fall, and you really want to avoid that if possible. So it's great to keep things tidy with an 8-inch cable tie.
Yep.
Also, you'll always need batteries, so carry a lot of batteries with you at all times.
Big stock of batteries.
Recharge all the rechargeable batteries, that's also a big thing, and have extras of those as well.
And charging cords as well.
And charging cords, yes.
Yep. Now this little dude right here, this is called an SLS camera, right?
Yeah, it's basically Xbox Connect.
Yeah, and how does that work?
So the Xbox Connect, just on its own, has the software to find human people. That's why it's fun to play with, because it knows where you're at, and then it kind of transports you into that Xbox game. Not virtual, but right before virtual, I think Connect was kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But what we use it for is to find outlines of entities that are not visible, and so this will not only will it pick up people, and it does that quite easily, but it also picks up things that may not be visible to, to the visible spectrum.
Yep, to the naked eye. It maps out in what we call the stickman figure, right? And we can see who's there or who's not there at the time. We wouldn't see a stick figure if they weren't there. But sometimes we do pick up things, and so the belief is that this can pick up entities or ghosts, what have you, that we can't see.
Yeah.
So show them what that would look like. If it mapped me out, you would see me as a stick figure in that tablet right there. And so if I put my arms out, you can see them, and I can move them around, and the stick figure moves with me. And that's the idea, is that we can see things that are not there with this camera. Hey guys, so one of the last things that we want to talk about, we just recently had an investigation at Bonnie and Clyde, and we talked with a guy named Bill Thompson, and he taught us a little bit about dowsing rods. These are really old. These have been around for a really long time, and I'm not very good at them yet, but I will be. I am learning as I go. But the idea is that whenever you hold the rods straight out and you tip them just a little bit down, and you make sure your thumbs are not on the top, if you were to go looking for water, or if you were to step over an electrical outlet or extension cord, they would cross like they're doing right here. And so you have to be real careful when you use these, that if I were to tip my hands to the outside just a little bit, see how easy it is for them to move. And I could say something like, hey, where's Josh? And they could go this way. Or hey, where's Paul? And I could make them go that way. So whenever you're using things, you really have to be careful about how you use them, and make sure that you're holding them steady and straight. And I'm still learning these, and this is why they're not in any of our episodes yet, but they will be whenever we learn how to use these a lot better. And we're always learning. We're always getting new equipment and learning how to use it, and because we want to give you guys the best experience we can. Josh, you got something over there.
Yeah, so this is called the S box. I think the S probably stands for spirit, if I had to guess. It's a ghost scanner, and what it does is you're able to ask questions out loud to the spirit entity, and then this scans all of the radio frequencies, I believe, right?
That is correct.
Okay,
it does scan through radios.
So they are able to answer verbally by responding through one of the frequencies that this is cycling through.
Yes. And the idea is that the white noise, the static, just like on the digital recorder or in the beginning of Paranormal Investigations, the cassette recorders, just like that, it uses the static and it morphs it into a word so you can actually hear their voice through the radio. And if you were to catch a voice over, say, 10 radio stations, or 6 radio stations, you know that you didn't pick up a radio station, you actually picked up something that is able to be deciphered and makes sense and answers our question. We believe that that is probably somebody trying to contact us from the other side.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And what's that?
So this is the exact same thing, just an older version of it. This is the newer one, it's a lot more compact. This one, obviously, there's a lot more to it.
That's the PSB-7.
This is the PSB-7, obviously,
box,
the Spirit
yeah.
box, from ITC research device,
Yeah, and with an Alltech speaker as well. It
does have that.
The speaker is there so that we can hear it, because the speaker on the PSB-7 was just not loud enough, so we had to have an additional speaker to go with it to be able to hear it. Yeah.
Also, it comes with this little wrist holder. So if you were to insert your hand like this, you can't drop it.
And Paul, what do you have over here?
All right, this is called an EM pump. So what it does is it puts electromagnetic energy into the area that you're at. Turn it on and we can set it inside a room, and it will continue to emit EM energy, and that way if there are spirits there, it will actually can increase their energy and their willingness to do stuff to try to interact with us.
Yeah. I also want to talk to you guys about this handy device right here. It's called an Ovilus. There is several versions. This is one of the latest ones. It's the Ovilus 5B. And you've all seen them on TV. You've all seen them on Ghost Adventures and all the other shows. Everybody has them. And they're really interesting. The idea is that the phonetic library in here can be utilized by manipulation of the environment. So if I were to set it down, and say, is anybody in the room? And they came over here and they could change the temperature or the pressure around it, and it would get a reading and they would spit out a word, and they learn how to manipulate it to get specific words. You've got to also be careful and always learn your equipment. If you get into this, always learn your equipment. You have to be careful because a lot of people turn it on and you automatically start getting words, and you really need to let it warm up a little bit. 5-10 minutes, let it run, let it do its thing. It's gonna talk, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you have an entity. Also, if you're using it and you're getting answers, but they don't make any sense to the questions that you're asking or the environment you're in, then it may just be getting a false reading. You don't always want to jump into it and say, oh, that's a ghost, or that's a spirit, or that's the guy that we're hunting's name is Bill. It's not Bill all the time, you know? So you want to be really careful about jumping to conclusions. And I'm going to turn it on so you can see what I'm talking about. Whenever I turn it on, it's probably going to instantly spit out some words. And so I'll turn it on, and it's going to go and give me the option to go to the library. And whenever I hit the library, it takes me there.
Cards.
And it automatically spits out words, right? And we're not playing cards. Nobody in here is 9. So that probably doesn't mean anything to us, right?
Right.
Or it could be telling us that if we play blackjack, stay when it shows 9.
It could mean that as well. I think that with the casinos in our state, we might want to go and take a
I
chance.
want to go take a chance at that.
I like it. Finally, and one of the last things that I want to point out is the notebooks that we talked about in the very beginning. We take notes throughout the night too. If you're having somebody like Paul, sometimes we'll sit and watch the TV screen with the static cams, and he'll watch and write down camera 4 at 10:05 p.m. and it gives us a way to go back later whenever we're reviewing the footage, and we know that we need to really pay attention at that point in time on the video because something was there. It might have been an orb, it might have been a shadow.
Just something.
Something happened, you know? And finally, I want to talk about one of our cameramen is Morgan, and she has been on some of our episodes, and she uses a Nikon Z6 with a Weeble, right? And that is what shoots most of our interview footage and our B-reel. We also have a lower level Nikon D3400, and that shoots a lot of B-reel and also gets some good side footage. We'll get the guerrilla style shooting like you see and like we like. With that, we can get in lower places. We have lots of tripods that we use. Always pick up a tripod anywhere you go, because you're gonna need it. And that's where the zip ties come in that Josh was talking about earlier, because we can zip tie cameras here to the tripod. We also have these little cell phone mounts that we use that hold these cameras nicely. Yeah?
Yep.
And really, the final thing that I want to talk about, you can never go wrong with your intuition. If your hair on the back of your neck stands up, if you have just a weird feeling, if you're hearing something, I mean, guys, am I wrong? Mm-hmm. You know, it's something that you really have to pay attention to. You know your body and you know how you feel in certain situations. And if you're just scared, you're not.
If you're scared, just say you're scared. But there's a difference between scared and what was that.
That's right. That's right. And you know, if something happens to, I don't know, grab your butt.
I was gonna say I have been pinched on the butt before. Going upstairs in Dan Soro house, Ghost totally pinched me on the butt. Also, started the first time I felt something in Dan Soro house, it was like somebody had touched the back of my neck.
That's right.
Which is not like, you can't just feel that without something actually having happened. That's crazy.
So trust your intuition. Trust it, because it's not lying to you. If you feel like something's there, it may very well be that something's there. And that's when you investigate further. You want to look into getting a camera to find out, is it really there?
Or note it on your notebook.
Or note it on your notebook. Or break out the digital recorder and just hit play, record, and let it run for a while, see what happens. Ask some questions. You never know. So guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, and we hope that you learned something from it. And I think that's it, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time on Spirit Guides. Audio, let's hear it.